Black smoke coming out of the conclave. No new pope today, but I do have for you President Trump. I just finished speaking with the president about 15 minutes ago. Here is that interview. Mr. President, welcome back to the Hugh Hewitt Show. Thank you for spending time with me today.
Well, thank you.
I've just finished reading Matt Continetti's review of your speech at the University of Alabama. It sounds like it was a big success, and Continetti, who I think is at least as influential as any other conservative out there, loved it.
Great.
Did you expect
He's
that?
a great guy, by the way, and it was we had a good time. Amazing people, amazing crowd, and amazing people.
I would recommend to everyone they get the free press assessment of that. I wanted to start light because I was so surprised when Commissioner Roger Goodell of the NFL showed up in the Oval. You know, he's not really very popular with a lot of your base, and you really rehabbed him pretty quickly. Did he offer you to make the announcement of the first selection in 2027, something he normally does?
I think he did, actually, and they're going to have I think it's 26, actually, this 26 draft. 2026, and it's going to be exciting. It's great for Washington, D.C. We need it a little bit, and we're focusing on
it's going to be wild.
And all
There'll be 1 million people there. It's a great big party.
The city, by the way, the city is really a lot safer today than it was 3 months ago before we started here. But so it's going to be exciting having the NFL do that.
So you rehabbed him pretty quickly. Now I want to know, because I'm a Browns fan, season ticket holder, why did you intervene on behalf of Shedeur Sanders during the draft?
I watched a couple of games or pieces of games and a number of things. His father's a big Trump fan, and I like people that are Trump fans, like you like them when they're Hugh Hewitt fans,
you
right?
Bet.
His father said great things about me over the years, really, really nice. And number one. Number two, genetics. Do you believe in genetics? And so do I. He has good genes for a football player. And I watched him play a little bit, and to me, what do I know? But I picked talent, and I thought he was a very talented quarterback. I really thought he was good. I like his gene pool, and I liked his talent, and I really think that he's going to do well. I think I just felt they treated him very badly. You want to know?
It was very humbling. Do you think it's good to be humbled at a young age, or is that harsh?
I don't think it's good. I think if it happens, you have to handle it, but I don't think it's good. I was surprised. People were saying he was going to be the number one pick, and he ends up in the fourth round or something.
Fifth round.
It's no, I don't think it's good. But sometimes you have to do it. He'll handle it. He's going to Cleveland and stuff because it's very cold, and I wouldn't say it's an ideal throwing.
Best fans in the world, Mr. President. Best fans in the world.
So, they have great fans. We love them. No, we love them.
Let's get to the serious stuff.
It's a hard place to throw a football, but it's...
Oh, gosh, yeah. December...
You do have great fans.
Let's get to the serious stuff. Last time I talked to you, you were the president-elect, and we talked about General Secretary Xi being very, very tough. You're very clear-eyed about him. And you told me you were going to try and get Jimmy Lai out. Secretary Rubio has told me he's going to try and get Jimmy Lai out. That would be a really great start to any kind of thaw. Any progress to report on Mr. Lai?
Well, we haven't started yet because we're meeting actually for, we've been talking back and forth. Look, they want to make a deal so badly, that I can tell you. But we've been talking, and it's not a question of pride. Somebody said, who made the call? Who made the call? It doesn't matter. I will tell you, you would have been happy if I gave you the answer to that. But it doesn't matter. The conversation matters, not, how it got set up. But I think talking about Jimmy Lai is a very good idea. We'll put it down, and we'll put it down as part of the negotiation.
All right, that's terrific. Now, I want to talk to you about your executive order from April 9, restoring America's maritime dominance. I thought that's the best of the executive orders, other than closing the border, which you got done, and no one seems to remember you got that done in a week. The Columbia-class submarines are behind by about 18 months. Have you talked to Secretary Phelan about that, about catching up?
Oh, I have, and he's very good. He's tough. He's a great business guy. I've known him, and I put him in there because he's got a great toughness. And, it is behind. It's the greatest submarine ever built. It's the most lethal weapon ever built by far. It's not even a contest. And they're behind. Now, they've always done a great job, that particular group, you know that. And they've always been great, but they're behind. And usually they're not behind. So we have a lot of them are behind. Boeing's behind. A lot of them are behind.
So when it comes down, brass tacks time, Do you tell Phelan fire the bunch or hire a new bunch? Because you don't want it to be like President Obama's library. You were talking about that yesterday. We got to get those ships in the water.
By the way, his library is a total disaster. You know that. It's like stopped, I guess, and he didn't want to use construction workers. Can you believe it? They didn't. That's what you got. You got a building that's probably never going to get built. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with it. It's a mess. But in this case, we have a company that the submarines, and they are the greatest submarines in the world. One thing, we are way advanced on submarines, is the greatest in the world, and they're behind a little bit, and maybe a lot, but maybe it's not going to matter that much as long as they get them done and quickly. Also, I'm looking at costs. I just got here, remember. Don't forget, I'm the one that complained about the aircraft carrier, the
Yes.
Gerald Ford, and I complained about a lot of aspects about the the elevators being run by magnets, okay, as opposed to hydraulic. Yep. I campaigned about, and it was part of my campaign. We talked about the catapults, what throws the planes out. I said,
the
why
Ford
not
class are behind too. The next two Ford class are behind schedule. So
yeah, no,
it's a mess.
And I'm not a big fan of the Ford class. I don't like the tower being in the back. Okay, the tower on aircraft carrier. You look at the Roosevelt and the various aircraft carriers. I like it in the middle where it's the widest. I like it hanging over the side. The hardest thing to do is land a plane. If you're a pilot, even a great pilot has a hard time if they have at all a little bit of the claustrophobia thing going. Oh. And when you move the tower to the back, it makes it that much harder to land a plane. I don't like a lot of aspects of it, and I let it be known, but they decided.
One of the things you told the kids in Alabama.
A couple more like that.
In Alabama, you told the kids, don't lose your momentum. And I think we're losing our momentum on the fleet. It really does seem to be slowing. Can you juice it?
Well, I'm going to juice it a lot. And we were getting ready to really start. Then we had an election that was very unfortunate. Think of what would have happened. You wouldn't have had, the least of which is inflation, but you wouldn't have had the border, 21 million people coming in, many, many, many criminals from all over the world. You wouldn't have had Russia, Ukraine. You wouldn't have had October 7th with Israel. You wouldn't have had the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. You wouldn't have had a thing called Afghanistan. Correct. What a disaster. And I don't mean getting out. Getting out was good. They should have kept Bagram, which they didn't keep. You know who's occupying Bagram right now? China. China's occupying Bagram. And the reason to keep it wasn't Afghanistan. It was because it was 1 hour away from where they make their nuclear missiles, China. That would have been that was a big one. That's among
it would not. That I don't think I've heard anyone argue you're wrong on that. It would not have happened. You would have had Mike Pompeo and Robert O'Brien, and you would have figured that out.
You would have been very happy with what we did. I was all set. We were getting out, but we were getting out with dignity and pride and strength, not the way we got out there. That was what a horror. And we lost 13 soldiers. And the thing, nobody ever talks about it. You do, but nobody talks about them. Is the 42 people that were so horrifically injured. And then if you add it all up, you probably lost 600 people, on both sides. A lot of people died.
Afghans died. A lot of them died.
A lot of people died.
A lot of controversy. But you mentioned 10-7, so I want to go to Iran. It's the most important thing I'm going to ask you about today. So let's pause it there. I talked to the president for about a half an hour. It will fit in the first hour, but I want to make sure we do our breaks at a place where it makes sense. So we'll back it up a little bit, and we'll come back with Iran. I want to remind everyone as well, I am a new Consumer Cellular customer. I want you to consider making the switch to Consumer Cellular. Savings without sacrifice. The crystal clear reception is terrific wherever you are in the United States. You will love it. What you'll really love is the bottom line. And it really depends on how much data you use. If you're watching me on your cell phone, you might want unlimited data. You're watching the Salem News Channel right now. On your cell phone, you might want unlimited data. If you're a normal 50-plus person, you don't use more than 8 gigabytes of data a month, and you really don't need unlimited data. So here's what you do. Call up Consumer Cellular, 1-800-411-4454, 1-800-411-4454, and tell them you want to switch. And you'll talk to a live person in America within 20 seconds to a minute. There's one button you have to push to make a selection. I don't know what it is. I can't remember, but it's one button. And use my promo code Hugh, get the second month of whatever plan you switch to. Keep your number, keep your data, or change it. It's up to you. Everything's up to you with Consumer Cellular. How much data you want, but don't get ripped off by Big Cellular anymore. Make the switch to consumercellular.com/Hugh or call 800-411-4454. Spoke with President Trump last hour for about a half an hour. Let's pick up the interview as we turn to Iran. So I want to go to Iran. It's the most important thing I'm going to ask you about today. The first question is, have they stopped trying to kill you and Mike Pompeo and a whole bunch of people? Because I don't know how you negotiate with someone who's trying to kill you.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be foolish enough to answer the question because you can never really answer a question like that. But let's just assume, I put out the strongest of orders, and this is not about me. This is about any president. If anybody does it, they're going to be hit harder than anybody's ever been hit in the history of our country. You can't do that. You can't do that, period, but you can't do that to presidents.
Good. Now, last night I was on Sean Hannity, and Sean asked me what I thought about your Iran statements. And I said the one thing that President Trump has done, I think every day since he got back, is tell Iran they have a choice. They can turn over the centrifuges and the uranium, or they can get bombed. Is that as explicit as you've made it to them? Either
Very
or?
Simple. Yeah, it's very simple. And I'd much rather make a deal, a really verified deal. We want total verification. We can do that. We have some very brilliant people up at MIT and various other places. We could do that very, very solidly. But I would much prefer a strong, verified deal where we actually blow them up, but blow them up or just de-nuke them. But there are only two alternatives there: blow them up nicely or blow them up viciously.
There's no half measure. That's what I wrote for the Washington Examiner today.
You got to get them out. Can't do it.
Let me turn to politics, Mr. President, because I've seen you talk about Trump derangement syndrome and do so with humor. But it's getting worse. In fact, I've got the new issue of The Atlantic right here, and the cover is, "It's Later Than You Think, Ann Applebaum, David Brooks, Aziz Hug, and George Packer Fighting Autocracy, Dominoes." This is silly, it's stupid, but it's there. What is it about you that deranges them so much?
Well, I win. They were losing for so long. They're losers, the names you mentioned, and many others, most others. But I win, and when I win, it drives people crazy, and I win a lot. And they have a hat that was made that Trump was right about everything. If you go back, I don't think he could find anything I was wrong about. Right about China, right about trade. We had China making $1 trillion. Think of it, $1 trillion under Biden. $1 trillion more, actually.
You have
billion
the
dollars.
measure.
You have the measure of Xi. A day we were losing on trade.
You have the measure of Chairman Xi. Do you think? I know you can sit down with him. I know you're very respectful in public and in private. I know it's a tough negotiation. Do we get along with them for the next 4 years, or is it going to be toe-to-toe for 4 years straight?
I can't tell you that. Depends on if they're going to treat us fairly. They, like every other country practically that you could name, including our so-called friends, ripped us off on trade and on the military. Until I came along, NATO was bust. NATO wasn't going to be able to make it. And, I said, we're paying almost 100% of this thing, and they treat us badly on trade. So we save them on military, and they kill us on trade, mostly the same countries with the European Union. I said, can you imagine? But I can't tell you that. I mean, we'll see how it goes. We have a big meeting on Saturday in Switzerland with some of the guys going over there, Scott and some other guys, very good guys.
He's very impressive, by the way. The
But
Secretary of the Treasury, very
we want to
impressive.
have fair trade deals.
So I want to go back to the political establishment. You broke it. You broke their system. You broke their credentialing. Can they ever reassemble that? Are they ever going to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, where you got to go through this gate and then that gate? I mean, you came from the sideline in, sort of at the 50 and won. Can they ever put it back together again?
So I use a phrase over the last few months because I've been watching them very closely. They've lost their confidence. Guys like David Brooks, who are supposed to be like Republicans, they're not Republicans. They're bad guys. The other character that's writing for the New York Times, they call him the Republican. He's not a Republican. He's just a flunky for the New York Times. And these people have lost their confidence because they lose all the time. And we have a movement the likes of which nobody's ever seen. You know it better than anybody. You cover it as well as anybody. And
it's a realignment.
Make America great. The MAGA movement. It's Make America Great Again. It's a very simple.
It's a realignment, but realignments sometimes fail. Richard Nixon had a realignment going in 1972. It all fell apart. Can you keep this one going? It usually means moving to the center, not moving to the right. If you want to realign, you got to take the center and hold it. Can you do that?
Well, I think so. I've never seen spirit like we have. You know, you mentioned the speech in Alabama, and the place was packed with big arena. They've never had a crowd like that. And it was, University of Alabama. Incredible people, by the way. The whole place, everybody was beautiful. It was like the most wonderful-looking arena, both the arena itself and the people. And no, we have a great country. We have some people that are sick. Frankly, they have just I don't know. There's something wrong with them. And you talk about Trump derangement syndrome. It probably makes them even crazier.
No, it does. But you won
these
7 swing states,
and they've lost their confidence totally.
You won 7 swing states. Can another Republican pull that off? Because 7 for 7 is the inside straight on 7-card poker. It's just not done.
I won all 7. Yeah, it was. I felt I was going to win all 7. Yeah, I campaigned in all 7. Every arena was packed. We were doing great everywhere. That was, we ran that last 3-month period. You figure 90 days, but that last 3 to 4 month period, that was a flawless campaign. We were just running flawlessly. And then they put her in. He was losing by 30 points, and they put her in. We didn't know, was she good, was she bad? Nobody knew too much about her. Most people didn't know the name Harris, right? They knew Kamala, they didn't know Harris, but she got up and she turned out to be a total disaster for them. But I'm telling you, they're just, if you look at their, hey, we have a big bench. We have a beautiful bench with a lot of very talented people. Look at the people they have. They have somebody named Crockett. And somebody was telling me she's the future of the party. Oh. And I figured, this will be good. I look forward to watching her. And I watched her. She's a low IQ person. Very low IQ.
AOC is the future of the party, and she has charisma. Do you think she can win? Do you think she's going to be their nominee in 28?
I think you're right about the charisma. I don't know about her speaking ability. I don't know about her debating ability. I don't know how she is, in an interview, because you rarely see her being interviewed. Rarely, and that's a bad thing, because usually that means something. It's like
pause right there. I'll come back. We're talking about AOC. We'll continue to talk about AOC. President and I covered a lot of issues in 30 minutes, and I'll play it all for you, and then I'll repeat it in hour 3 in case you're just coming in the middle. But I don't want to forget my relief factor, because getting ready for interviewing President Trump meant a lot of walking this morning, thinking you get 15 minutes, usually means 30. And then you've got to make sure you don't run out of questions, and you got to have a bonus question in case you got a little extra time there, and I've got that, but walked a long way thinking relief factor makes that possible. I urge you to try it right like this. If you are watching on the Salem News Channel, then you just see me take it. If you're listening on the Salem Radio Network or one of our great affiliates, like WBOB, our brand new affiliate in Jacksonville, Florida, AM 600 and 101.1 FM. You hear me take it, and I do it every single day. And I remind you every single day, take your own. And if you are stubborn and haven't yet tried the starter pack, call 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief, 1-800-4-RELIEF, or visit their website and find the starter pack, 3-week supply, $19.95, less than $1 a day, at relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. I talked to President Trump last hour, and I'm playing that interview for you now. Let's pick up where we left off, talking about AOC. I spent an hour with Kristen Welker this weekend, and I was listening to a podcast today of the National Review editors, and no one doubts your availability. Joe Biden never spoke to anyone on any side of the aisle. He was hidden away. Do you think he was competent for more than a year or 2 years?
No. Well, I don't think he was competent 40 years ago. He was a very average guy. Look at his credentials academically. Look at his whole life. He was a glad hander, hale and hearty. He had a good personality. I mean, he had a sort of a good look, other than the hair was weak. Hair was very weak, but the look was pretty good. He was a hale and hearty and well-met guy, but he was not a smart guy. But he was a vicious guy. You saw that here. He knew enough to know to go after his opponent. He went after his political opponent.
When you came out on the stage for debate, when you did that? Did you know immediately he had lost it? I mean, he had lost the capacity to actually debate. At one point, you said, and it probably ended his campaign. I don't know what he said. I don't think he knows what he said either, and it crushed him right there. But did you realize it at the time?
Well, when I gave that answer just before that, the answer was in reference to the way he was acting and talking. I was sort of saying that's sort of a strange thing going on here. He also was very white. I mean, they had the whitest makeup. I can say this: whoever his makeup artist is, don't use him again. And they had a very big makeup person, and maybe they wanted to set records by trying to make somebody he was the whitest. So when I walked on, I looked across because I didn't see him before. I didn't meet him before the debate, and I walked on, and for whatever reason, they put him on first. Normally, if you're the president, you go on second, like a fighter. They put the champion in the ring second. They put the challenger in first, and so I was very honored by that, actually. But I went into the arena, so to speak, and I looked at him, and I said, "Man, there's something wrong." And I think it was more makeup than anything else.
Well, makeup got Richard Nixon in 1960. Yeah, makeup killed Nixon in the Kennedy-Nixon debate. Let me ask you, I want to go back to Israel. You've had Prime Minister Netanyahu to the White House twice, and I'm very happy to see that. Because in this country, anti-Semitism is taking off. How do we crush that, and how do we make sure it doesn't get into the Republican Party?
Well, I think I'm crushing it more than anybody ever, and I think nobody's been better to Israel as a president than me by a factor of about 20. In fact, I could say maybe nobody's ever been better than me on Israel. And I am shocked to see what I'm seeing, because if you look back at the old days of the Holocaust, you're seeing the same kind of thing happening now as you saw many, many years ago. And you would have thought that could never happen, right? Wouldn't you think? I mean, that's not something. If you go back a few years, you would say that could, it's never. When I was growing up, and, as a young guy, I would say without question the most powerful lobby, most powerful without question, was Israel in terms of the Congress, in terms of the Senate and the House. The most powerful, the most powerful lobby was. If you ever said anything bad about Israel, your political career was over. Today, and the Senate's hanging pretty tough, but the House is. You look at some of these people, including AOC plus 3, and all of these different people that are now. I mean, look at Schumer. He's become a Palestinian. I think he's a Palestinian, actually. You should give him the garb. But I can't believe that Schumer, of all the people, you look at the guy, I think he's a wreck, first of all. I don't know what the hell happened to him, but he's being beat up pretty good. When I wrote him the little note, thank you very much for your this and that was not meant as a wise guy note. That was meant sincerely. I appreciated that he did what I considered to be the right thing, with his vote.
Right.
And a couple of weeks ago. And they got a hold of that letter, and they just creamed him on that letter.
Well, the left is out of its mind. We'll come back and talk about that. He's talking about the continuing resolution. I want to talk to you about Best Hot Grill, because we're talking about graduation speech President gave down in Alabama. The best graduation present going is besthotgrill.com, besthotgrill.com. Cellular infrared grill, been a long time sponsor of my show. And if you want to give Dad the best Father's Day present, or you want to give a grad the best grill they could possibly ever have, whether it's the small one, the large one, try it before you buy it. It's a possibility there. besthotgrill.com. Go and find out how Cellular infrared grills get to 1,000 degrees in 3 minutes. Maybe you're just one of those people who wants everything done perfectly. That means you need a besthotgrill.com from Cellular. Make sure you tell Rhett and Crowd that Hugh sent you, not Dwayne. besthotgrill.com, besthotgrill.com. Last hour I spoke with President Trump for half an hour. Let's get back to that interview right now. Right.
And a couple of weeks ago, and they got a hold of that letter, and they just creamed him on that letter.
Well, the left is out of its mind.
The real question is he going to be challenged by AOC? Is he going to be challenged by somebody else? Because I think he's pretty weakened right now.
I think she can be their nominee for president if she wants. I don't know. Maybe Josh Shapiro can beat her. I don't think so. I think she's unstoppable because of her charisma and because of the left wing sort of lurch of the Democratic Party.
I just don't know about her speaking ability, and I don't know about her. She still has to answer questions, and I haven't seen that yet. She goes on very rarely. You don't see it. And Kamala was a disaster with answering questions. Before that, she was doing all right, and then when she started opening her mouth, she started losing rapidly, really rapidly. So I don't know, and I don't know about her speaking ability. You have to be able to speak in front of large crowds. Her voice is a little different. I don't say it's bad, but it's a little squeaky. And as a squeaky voice, I'm not sure that sells, but we'll see.
We'll see. Now let me go back to the anti-Israel.
You never know, right? You know the expression? You never know.
Well, never say never. I believe I'm quoting you. Never say never.
Never say never. That's true.
Let me ask you about Harvard, my alma mater. I hope you pulled their tax-exempt status. I want it pulled. They don't deserve it. And it's, by the way, it's not illegal for the audience. It's not illegal for the president to request that review. He cannot order an audit, but he can certainly ask for tax-exempt status to be reviewed. Are you going to push that for every university where the anti-Semitism gets out of control?
I think so, yes. So we're going to look for that, and where we find them, sometimes it's out of control, but you don't see it. It's not so obvious.
Right.
With Harvard, it was very obvious. You look at it, totally anti-Semitic. And you look at where they had 3% conservatives, and, the rest of them were mostly radical left. A couple of things I put in, I had them put this in. I said, you hired at a tremendous salary Lori Lightfoot, right? The mayor of Chicago, one of the worst in history. And then you hired the worst mayor in the history of New York by far, a man who started the downfall of New York, Bill de Blasio, a total disaster. And they hired these two people. They don't hire a Rudy Giuliani or somebody that could actually, who was actually a great mayor. And but think of it, they hired these two people, paid them a fortune, and they're talking about municipal management.
Yeah, I want you to keep the pressure on because it's gone off the rails like the left. I want to wrap up, Mr. President, because you've been very generous with your time. Your team is always very generous. Let me ask you, will you issue a veto threat on funding that involves NPR, PBS, or CBB? Because we've got to get out of that business.
I will do everything we can to make sure they're not funded. They're horrible. I watch them just because I have to watch the enemy sometimes. I don't watch them often. I watch MSDNC sometimes. I hate it. I hate watching it, but I feel I have an obligation. They are so bad and so corrupt. They're a disgrace. This guy, Brian Roberts, that runs that company, they should look into the whole thing. Because, first of all, CNN and MS, I call it DNC, Democratic National Committee, those things are political arms. That should be... that should really be campaign finance violations and at the highest level. Yeah, they don't say anything good about, and me in particular, but any Republican, and they are so dishonest. You could come up with a cure to the worst disease known to man or woman, and they would say he did a terrible thing. They are just horrible people. And
I don't want them to get any more of my money. I worked for PBS for 10 years. Yeah. They were bad back then in 92 to 2002.
No, they were bad, and they've gotten worse. And they're worse now probably than they ever were. Yeah.
All right, two last questions. 2028 convention.
We're going to try. And you know what? They may get the funding. They may get the funding from lunatics on the left. These are lunatics. These are sick people. But the government should not be providing funding.
Amen. Now, 2028 Republican convention. You get to pick the city. Do you want to go back to Cleveland, where it all began, because you had a good convention in Cleveland?
Well, we do actually have. I haven't really been giving it a lot of thought, but I will get to pick the city. That's true. That's true.
Just keep in mind that
I'll get to pick a lot of things. Okay, if you want to know the truth, but I get to pick the city.
Are you going to participate in the GOP 2026 primaries? You're going to pick favorites for like the Ohio governor's race, Dave Yost and Vivek, and there are Senate races all over the place. Are you going to get involved?
Well, I am. I've already endorsed Vivek. I mean, I will be very much involved because we have to win. Very important that we win, and we should win. There's an amazing anomaly. It doesn't make sense to me, actually, that if you're president, you sort of almost always lose in the midterms. Now, if you look, it's crazy. I think we're having a great presidency. I think we had a great 100 days. The people that are legit say this was an amazing 100 days, the things that we've done. We've practically gotten rid of woke. I mean, it's virtually. I mean, people are there. If they believe in that nonsense, they're afraid to do it. But so many different things we've done.
Oh, the most impressive thing, Mr. President, the most impressive thing. The Democrats said they could not close the border unless you passed a bill.
Yeah, the
and
border's
you close it in a month. And I don't know how it happened, but I think I'll be waving that flag in every election from now until I retire because you did it in a month, and I'm grateful for that. I hope you will achieve immigration reform, regularize the people who are here who are good people.
We'll be looking at that, We'll be looking. No, but we did a great job, and I'll tell you, Tom Homan was great. Christie was great. We have a lot of good people, great people in this administration, and we've accomplished a lot. And it's 100 days, not very long. We have a long way to go. We have
you got to get that tax bill.
So
we got to get the tax. Pause for a moment. I will come back. We'll talk about the tax bill, the one big beautiful bill to conclude the hour. Donald Trump, very generous with his time today. President always is. Best interview in the world. I always say it because he always makes news, and indeed, it's already making news. You can either blow it up nicely or blow it up viciously. Dwayne called that. I guess he was awake during the interview. That's good. And Dwayne did call that. I wanted to be very, he said that's the headline. And sure enough, I watch X. That's the headline thus far, but they haven't heard the Tom Cruise question yet. So stay tuned. I'll come back with the Tom Cruise question. In the meantime, don't forget, if you've missed any of this, it's already posted at my YouTube channel. Thank you, Harley and Adam. Always like and subscribe when you go to the Hugh Hewitt YouTube channel. And don't leave after we're done with the next segment. John Podhoretz, John Campbell, Selena Zito, and more in the next hour. And if you're regretting, if you're hearing it, oh gosh, I missed the beginning of this, I'm going to replay it in hour 3 today, where you can go online at hughhewitt.com, and the audio will be there along with the transcript if Dwayne ever gets it done. We'll find out about that when we come back. And I will play the conclusion of the interview with President Trump. Last hour I spoke with President Trump for a half an hour. Here's the conclusion of that interview. We got to get the tax bill.
Country around so fast. Say it again.
We got to get the tax bill done.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's a big thing. The one big beautiful deal. That's what we want, and it'll be the largest tax cut in history. Now, the alternative is you'll have a 68% jump if the Democrats get their way. Right. Now, who's going to vote for that? But you have a 68 taxes will go up like at a level never seen before if they don't.
What they want.
I think there's a lot of pressure. On Republicans, even. There's a lot of pressure because we don't need grandstanders.
No, we don't. Very last question, Mr. President. There's a rumor going around that on the movie business side, Tom Cruise called you up and tried to lobby you. True or false?
No, it's false. He did call me up, but he called me up for another reason, very nice, innocent reason. He's sort of the last of our great movie stars, if you think about it. You know, he's a nice guy. He couldn't have been nicer. I don't believe I ever spoke to him, but others have. John Voight has. John Voight, I love John Voight. He's
great man.
And he has, and others have also. And I love the idea, the concept of the tariff. If you make your movie in another country, you know, they make them all over the world now, and they don't make them here. And if you make your movie in another country and you want to sell it here, that's okay. You have to pay a tariff.
I don't know how you make it work, but that would kill Canada because Canada makes a lot of movies.
They took a big chunk of our movie. They took a lot of our businesses, but they're all going to come back.
Do you believe the Prime Minister, bonus question, Prime Minister Carney said he was going to step up on NATO. If he does, that will be a great thing. I'm not really sure I believe that Canada is going to step up on NATO.
Well, they have started paying more. But we basically defend Canada. We subsidize Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year. And I say, why? Why are we doing that? Because we want to make our cars. They make a lot of cars. We're going to take that business back. And you do that with tariffs. Lumber, we have all the lumber in the world. I've already I've taken care of the environmental situation. You know, we've opened up forest areas that were ridiculously closed. But we have as much lumber as anybody almost in the world. We have more energy than anybody in the world. We don't need their energy. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their steel, their aluminum. We don't need anything they have. With that being said, I had a very good meeting with him yesterday.
Well, they're very nice people. We want to get along with them, but I hope they pay their NATO share. Mr. President, thank you for the extra time. Thank your staff for me. They're always great to work with, and I look forward to checking in with you again soon.
Thank you very much, you. Great honor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. I love talking to Donald Trump. I could literally talk to him for hours at a time, but he is being president, and we do have a a flare up in Kashmir, and we've got hostages to worry about, and Iran got the message again. I don't think a day goes by when he doesn't give Iran the message, choice A or choice B. I like having that said again and again and again, the way he is so straightforward about it. We can blow it up nicely, meaning the centrifuges and the enriched uranium, or we can blow it up viciously, but it's going to get blown up. Bingo. Last hour, I talked to President Trump for most of the hour. Now I'm going to talk to John Podhoretz and John Campbell and Selena Zito in that order. John, President Trump just told me that Iran has a choice. We can blow up their centrifuges nicely, or we can blow them up viciously. And it's that basic. Do you believe him?
I want to. I want to so badly. I really do. And yet I do know that tomorrow he could say something different. That's the problem with him on these policy matters, because just 4 or 5 days ago, the administration was singing from a slightly different hymnal, or some of the administration officials were saying. Witkoff said last week, maybe it would be okay if they enriched uranium to a 3% level. And then Marco Rubio said, no, if you enrich it to a 3% level, you can enrich it to 80% in 3 weeks. So it doesn't mean anything to allow it to happen. I think he seems to be toughening up as the negotiations get closer, which I think is a decent negotiating tactic, like not to, don't give things away on the runway. But I will say that I was on the phone today with a couple of people who are close with the administration and close with the Israeli government, and they are very worried. They are worried that Witkoff really wants to cut a deal, and that Trump would really like to cut a deal, and that there is so much incestuous goings on with the Qataris and the Omanis and business interests there and all of that there are incentives that we're not taking full account of that are playing a role here, that are temptations for the administration to make a bad deal with Iran, which seems insane to me. But, like with the tariffs, he's the one who reintroduced the topic of a nuclear deal, which I don't know why he did it, but he did it, and here we are. And so let's hope for the best and expect the worst, as commentators.
Well, I love your very nice working of your theme song. Yes.
Thank you very much. Well, it is by Mel Brooks, who is 98 years old and still with us. And I doubt shares our particular politics, but nonetheless.
I love every time I hear that come on. And I listen to commentary podcasts almost every day. By the way, Matt Continetti got a great guy from the president today, because I talked with him about the Free Press article that Matt wrote about the University of Alabama speech, which, by the way, I hadn't read until I read Matt's thing. I didn't realize it was a good speech.
Me either.
And it was, and so it was fascinating. I asked him why he deranges some people, and he does. His answer is because I beat him. Do you think that's it? I don't think that's it. I think there's something much deeper going on. But why do you think some people... I showed him the Atlantic, John. The New Atlantic issue is it's later than you think.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is just crazy.
It's not crazy, Hugh. Come on. He does it on purpose. He's one of those guys. We all knew them. We knew them in high school. We knew them in college. He's the guy whose pleasure it is to be the burr under everyone's saddle and to see whether he can control the conversation and the direction and the flow of things by being annoying, obnoxious, provocative, difficult, funny, and always willing to take things a step too far. It's a type. It's a human type. It's not the type that we usually associate with politicians, because politicians generally go for the sugar, right, and not the paprika or the red hot chili peppers. But Trump has introduced this into politics, and it works for him, and that's why he does it. It's not because he wins, because he loses a lot of the time. By the way, he lost in 2020. Yes, he did. Everybody's listening.
I know that. He won't talk about that with me, because I always tell him that.
But I'm just saying he lost. He lost in 2020. He loses things. He's going to lose half the court cases that the administration has put before the courts. I think they know that. They accept that they'll win some and lose some. So I don't think it's about winning and losing. I think it is his great pleasure to be the person who is, and I think a lot of us have this in us, like who you say things and people say, you can't say that. And then you're like, yeah, I just said it. What do you mean?
You just did.
What do you mean?
But David Brooks
I said it. Now
is
what are
the
you going to do
most.
about it?
David Brooks is one of the most persuasive, gentle, thoughtful essayists of the last 40 years. And in this Atlantic essay, he purports to read the mind of all conservatives, and he purports to delineate true conservatives from. I mean, it's not something I would have ever expected from David. And I think it's something uniquely reactionary to Trump. But that doesn't make Trump an authoritarian. It might make him a bad stand-up comic or a pretty good negotiator.
I don't think Trump's an authoritarian. I don't think he's a defender of our democratic republic and its norms and its traditions and its principles. I don't think he's all that interested in the obligation that he has to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. He all but said as much to Kristen Welker on Meet the Press. So I don't think that this is something of particular interest to him. I think that all things being equal, as he keeps saying, he'll obey the Supreme Court if the Supreme Court says he can or can't do something. But
what he did tell me, John, is that he is not going to let up on anti-Semitism. He is going to go after Harvard and every other college where anti-Semitism has raised its ugly head, and he's going to drive it. I believe it.
Without question, in my view, I will be grateful to him forever and to the people in the administration who have decided to make this a major American issue, because it is a major American issue. And the fact that it is at the center of their domestic policy rather than one of 25 different things that they might be taking up at the same time is very important. It's innovative, and it has all kinds of knock-on positive benefit consequences, which is to say, he may not be a defender of the Constitution, as I say, but liberals have been using the Civil Rights Act of 1964 as a weapon in the culture of war for 60 years. And he is calling a halt to that by saying, what you guys are doing on college campuses, very important places that form the leaders of tomorrow, what you are doing there is in violation of this act that you revere so much. And we are going to punish you for your violations by withholding funds that you think you deserve or require to run because that's what the law says. The law says there are consequences if you violate Title VI and treat students unequally based on their, race, gender, national origin, or I guess, however you want to categorize Jewish people, they're being treated unequally.
They're covered by Title VI. And I, unfortunately,
they're covered by Title VI, yeah.
I talked to him before the latest explosion of anti-Semitism in the Columbia Library happened the following hour. And John, the president said, I agree with him, I never in my lifetime expected to see this in the United States. I've never seen it in the United States. I think they have to pull the tax exemption from everyone.
Right. I've never seen it in the United States. One of the things I wrote a piece about the rise in anti-Semitism after October 7th at the beginning of 2024 called They're Coming After Us. And this was something that liberals, conservatives, all Jews in America said they could not believe what they were seeing, that they had never in their lives seen anything like this in the United States. They couldn't believe it was happening. And it's now 16 months later, and it's happening again. And what's more, if Israel does stage a dramatic move into Gaza to end this war and to try to get the rest of the hostages out, or hits Iran, what we've seen, what has been quiet for a while, is going to start getting really, really, really noisy again, as you're seeing in this Columbia Library incident that you're talking about. That's just one place. Campuses, which are right now almost about finished for the year, right? Because it's April, it's in May, and it's like final exam time. But if it's not there, it'll just be in the streets and places. And we're about to see it all happening again, because when Israel acts, the gutteries push the button and the money flows somehow through the NGOs, and tents are bought and literature is distributed and people are taught how to.
Well,
How come
watch
it's
the
next?
Columbia
Well,
thing. I will be
that was
listening tomorrow to the
I will.
podcast because you will get the
Yeah.
blow by blow by then of Columbia, and I think this is a bad
Yeah.
situation. It could get very much worse overnight, and so I will listen to the commentary podcast tomorrow morning. My only, I always complain to the boss. It's not up early enough, John. It's got to get up earlier. I'm on the East Coast now, so start earlier.
Look,
7:30, 7.
that is so not fair. We started 8, but we gotta you gotta run it through
I know.
the machine.
Get up at 7. I'm
Put in the
telling you.
ads. You know,
John Podhoretz. I love the
I
commentary
try.
podcast.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Hugh.
Thank you.
You really are such a great
Follow
friend to us.
John and
Thank
Jay
you.
Podhoretz. Listen to the commentary podcast every day. Be smart. Be smart and be happy because it's often very, very funny. Congressman John Campbell is my weekly guest. I normally go 2 segments. I have to do like 3/4 of one segment today, Congressman, because our friend President Trump took a lot of time last hour, and I was glad to give it to him. Did you hear that by chance?
Wait. I did, but wait just a minute. You're saying that President Trump is more important to this show than I am? Is that?
I hate to
did you
break
just
the news
imply-
to you.
You might have said that directly. I'm stunned, shocked.
John, so you heard it. Do you think he's
Yes, I
going to
did hear
get the tax? Do you think he's going to get the tax bill through? Because Don Bacon on the left and Chip Roy and others on the right, they got problems with it. They can't possibly screw this up, can they?
No, well, can they screw it up? Yes. Congress can screw anything up. There's no question about that. But I think they will get it passed. I think, what is in it is still very uncertain because there will be lots of horse trading going on. People who say, I won't vote for something unless this is in it. And then other people will say, I won't vote for it if that is in it. And you've got to work that out. And at the end, the closer is Donald J. Trump. And the thing is I think he is the strongest closer, if I can use an old car business term, the strongest closer that we've ever had in the White House, certainly in my lifetime, of either party. And I think there are very few people who can take this bill and say, well, there's this thing I don't like in it. And so I'm going to vote against it and take it down and say that in front of Donald Trump. I don't think there are 4 Republicans who can do that. So I think they will get something passed.
So now the second question that comes out of that interview is the president talked about Chuck Schumer and AOC. And I think AOC is going to be their nominee, and he's not so sure. What do you think about her chops?
Yeah, I'm not so sure either, but I'm closer to your view of it than I've mentioned this to a whole lot of people, and I said, look, she is the heir apparent to the Bernie Sanders wing. And he's running around the country with her. She's the heir apparent. And she is younger, and she has a great social media following. And as you guys said with Trump, she has a degree of charisma with her. And so all of which Bernie didn't have. So I think she has a better shot than Bernie did. But all the Republicans I talked to, no, it can't be. It's not possible. They could never do that. No, I am closer to you. I think they absolutely could make her the nominee. But I think there will be various other people in that field. Certainly, the governor of California doesn't want it to be AOC, and he's a formidable force. And I think there will be some others out there. I mean, when you look at Cory Booker and why he did what he did, well, why did he do it? He wants to be president. Why did Chris Van Hollen go down to wherever he went, El Salvador, and do the thing? Yeah, and do that thing and all that and get all that press because he wants to be president. When you see senators and governors doing things like this at this point, what they're doing is they're trying to create some national name ID so that when they announce for president, people say, oh, yeah, he's from, I don't remember what state, but I remember his name. He went down there and defended the rights of illegal immigrants. Woo-hoo, yay, good for him. So you can see there are people out there who want it other than AOC. That said, she's going to have a very strong base from which she will start. The rest of these people, including the governor of California, are going to have to build a base.
I agree, and I think it's up to her. But I also want your comment on when he said we have a very strong bench. He's not going to pick I think that means he's not going to pick him. He's going to just say, "Hey, I got a lot of great people here. Take your choice." Did you read it that way?
No, I didn't read it that way. I read it simply as the truth that that there are a lot of strong Republicans these days with national exposure. Let's put it that way. I don't know whether it seems to me that it would be very un-Trump-like if he could find someone he likes. Presumably, at this point, we would assume his vice president, but we don't know that. And say, you know, this is the person I want to succeed me to carry forward my legacy. For him to step back and say, you know, I'll just let it play out and see who's going to do the best at carrying forward my legacy. That just seems un-Trump-like to me. Doesn't mean it won't happen.
All right, last question, John Campbell. I mentioned him. You get to pick the convention in 2020. He does. He gets to name whatever city we're going to go to. Where do you think he'll go, and where should he go?
You know, I heard you pushing a particular
yes,
city in Ohio because you push everything in Ohio. When was the last time you lived in Ohio, by the way?
I go there every year.
Last time you lived in Ohio was like, yeah, okay. All right.
I go there every year.
Right. Okay. In any event, it's always been felt that you should put it in a state that you need to carry in that isn't guaranteed that you would carry it, which would not be Ohio, because Ohio is pretty much a red state today. So the view would be to put it in some city somewhere that's more of a purple state. But I'm not sure it makes that much difference anymore, to be honest with you. I think you probably put it in a city where you have a mayor that will support you and support the convention and make it go off without a hitch and keep protesters away and that sort of thing. I think that's frankly
I have a prediction, a real prediction.
Okay.
He's going to go to Madison Square Garden because he's a New Yorker at heart. And his last turn on the stage is going to be on the biggest stage in America, which is MSG. We had a great convention there in 2004 when W was the president. So I want to give you 30 seconds to react to that. What do you think?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, he's still the showman. There's no question. Yep. He's president. You know, you can put me wherever you want, but I'm a CPA. I'm an accountant, and that bit of me comes out at all times. He's a showman. You're a lawyer, and I know you wish that didn't come out, but it does. But he's a showman, and Madison Square Garden is a place a showman likes to be. I'll say that.
Oh my goodness, that's my prediction. We'll talk about it next week when we have a full dose of John Campbell. Follow John on X at, I want to get it right because he changes it all the time, JBT Campbell. J as in John, B as in Bill, T as in Tom Campbell, JBT Campbell on X. And read his newsletter and watch him. I think he talks to Dwayne this week as well. But I have to do Relief Factor. I want to do Relief Factor. I want to remind you about Relief Factor because I took it in the hour number 1, and I remind you about it in hour number 2 and 3. If you're my new affiliate, WBOB, AM 600, FM 101.1 down in Jacksonville, get used to it. I tell you about it every hour. I remind you every hour because I want you to take it every hour and feel better every hour, and you'll thank me for it. And you'll remember the show for it. And you'll remember that I actually take it on the air. I love the product. It's the only supplement I've taken for 20 years, and I've been taking it about 10 years straight. And did my 5 miles this morning, thinking in my head the outline for 30 minutes with Donald Trump and clearing my head, going faster and not so fast. But that's what Relief Factor allows you to do. Keep moving, keep the momentum going, as the president said down in Alabama when he addressed the University of Alabama commencement this weekend. Keep the momentum going. That's what Relief Factor allows you to do. Call for the initial order, a very deeply discounted 3-week order, $19.95. 1-800. The number 4 and the word relief, 1-800-4RELIEF, or go to their website, relieffactor.com. Find that starter pack for 3 weeks, less than $1 a day at relieffactor.com. Welcome back, America. See the world. That means that Dwayne's soundtrack music for Dwayne's World, his podcast every day. It also means it's time for me to plug my PhD weight loss. But I don't know if Dwayne's there. He's supposed to have posted a transcript of the interview with President Trump. Is that up already?
I have 26 out of the 28 and change minutes of transcript done. It will be posted in about 6 minutes.
Okay. Now, I don't like to criticize you on air. You know that.
No, actually, I don't know that.
But it's been an hour and a half.
I wish other people at Salem knew that.
It's been an hour and a half since we got done talking to the president. I mean,
yes.
Is there too much crosstalk?
You know, the ratio is still the same. It takes about 3 minutes for every 1 minute of actual transcript. You kept him about 30 minutes. That's about 90 minutes to take. And I'm.
But think of what you're not eating. I'm keeping you on your myphdweightloss.com plan. 864
644
1900. That's
864
644
1900.
And we do that so that we can remind people who are thinking about going on a drug for the rest of their life at a ridiculous amount of cost. You don't have to do that. You can actually lose 50 pounds and keep them off.
Yep.
With myphdweightloss.com. But you know, we also are plugging today besthotgrill.com, who's also a sponsor of Dwayne's World, and I think helped you on the myphdweightloss.com, did it not?
Well, yes, because I grilled a lot of burgers, I grilled a lot of steaks, grilled a lot of chicken on that besthotgrill.com.
And so maybe they ought to get together. Maybe we should marry up besthotgrill.com and myphdweightloss.com.
You see, I always thought for my podcast purposes, the best thing in the world, and we should do it for radio too, the best thing in the world
Thank you.
is to have some kind of an organic or,
We're not organic here.
Oh, yes, we are.
We're not organic.
When it comes to steaks and stuff, it tastes really good. So we should have, some Omaha steaks or something like that cooked on your Best Hot Grill to be able to stay within your myphdweightloss.com diet. That's like the perfect trifecta.
That is the perfect pitch. myphdweightloss.com. It really does work. Would you please get that transcript done? I mean, just come on.
Well, leave me alone, you
All
big
right, go
dope.
to work. Go to work. I will now tell people about richstatespoorstates.com. And if you are new to the show, you're our new affiliate, AM 600 101.1 FM, down in Jacksonville, WBOB. Gosh, I love something when I can remember it. WBOB, AM 600 101.1 FM. It's so easy to remember. And Jacksonville's so big. I mean, physically, it's just like a giant city. And so you're driving through Jacksonville. You're wondering, did I pick the right place to live? You want to go to richstatespoorstates.org. richstatespoorstates.org. I used to think it was richstatespoorstates.com, but it's richstatespoorstates.org. Because then you get a free copy of the ranking. It's a beautiful little book, by the way. Really put together well. John Williams, who's their president and chief economist, I think he writes it out in hand. I think it's in longhand, and he'll personally sign every copy that you request. And I think he does the mailer as well. He is rightfully proud of this book. And it lists all 50 states in the order in which you will thrive. And once again, number one state in the union is Utah. It's a combination of many policies, business-friendly, low taxes, public safety. It's got employment opportunities, startup business costs. They're going to mix in school choice next year, I believe. They keep adding additional variables. And they're going to stop hating on Ohio so much because John he's from that state up north, so he always hates on Ohio a little bit too much. But if you want your copy, go to richstatespoorstates.org today. And the American Legislative Exchange Council also does a newsletter on the state of the states, which I cannot recommend highly enough. If you go to alec.org/Hugh, ALEC.org/Hugh. I'm really kind of amazed that I was able to do the interview with the president today because last night I was dead. I got off of the Hannity show, talked to Sean last night, and came back in, and the Cavaliers were driving me crazy. When I went into the studio, they were up 20 points. And when I got back, they were up 7 points. And I just couldn't take it anymore. I turned it off. I just said I can't stand the end of an NBA game because of the way it plays out. 7 points. I learned today that over 1,000 times an NBA team goes into a game with 7 points and less than a minute, only 3 times has the other team won. Well, last night was one of the 3. The Cavs are now down 0-2, and they're going to Indianapolis. But they are a very good team with a superstar. They're banged up. They're injured. I don't believe Evan Mobley's going to be able to play, but go Cavs. Let them know. But I rallied, so can they. I rallied for President Trump because when you get pierced through the dagger right to the heart of your sports genes, you got to get up off the. If you're a Cleveland fan, yeah, this is nothing. It's like wag the dog. This is nothing, Dustin Hoffman said. Nothing. And that's it. The comeback's going to be great. Selena Zito is my guest, columnist of the world, including the Washington Post, the Washington Examiner, the New York Post, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and whatever else she writes for, I don't know. But Butler's coming out soon, her brand new book. Selena, I talked to the president 2 hours ago for a half an hour, and I don't like to say I've interviewed him more than any other center-right person, because I think you have. But boy, he's fun to talk to. Do you enjoy it as much as I do?
He really is fun to talk to. There's some great moments. There's some very powerful and emotional moments in Butler, the book, but there are some really hysterical moments in that book. And I really bring people in first person to feel that experience. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
When does it drop? I want people to pre-order it at Amazon, but
yes,
we need to know.
They need to pre-order it right now. July 8th.
July 8th. And so, but you pre-order, you'll get it ahead of everyone else. It's going to sell out. I don't know what's in it because Selena's very sneaky on this stuff. She won't. How many times did you actually sit down with the president and talk about that day? Probably more than anybody else. I haven't talked to him much about that day because I figure it's all in Butler. I'm going to cover new ground. But I mean, how much time did you spend with him?
Oh, probably a dozen interviews. In particular, the one of the most moving ones was the day after. But even when we went back to Butler in October, that was a pretty powerful interview. It was both very deeply emotional and faith driven, but it was also really funny because that's when he's like, "Hey, I want you to meet this guy called Elon Musk." And like, I didn't know who Elon Musk was, right? And the whole time I'm interviewing Musk, those two are jawing back and forth, and it's all in the book. I have the whole thing in the book, and it's really funny.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading Butler so much. Now, Selena, when we were talking, I asked him about why he drives people absolutely bonkers. Because the new issue of The Atlantic came this week, and I showed it to him. It's Later Than You Think is the title. And if you can't see this, if you're not watching on the Salem News Channel, the cover of The Atlantic shows red dominoes falling, red, white, and blue, down below. Ann Applebaum, David Brooks, Aziz Hug, and George Packer fighting autocracy. I mean, it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy stuff. So I asked him, why do you do this to people? He said, because I beat them. And I think that's too easy an answer. Why do you think he does it to people? Because they really go off the rails.
They go off the rails. Well, you know what? Actually, that very simple answer is correct because they've never understood how to beat him, and they've never accepted that he has beaten them, and it makes them just mad. I mean, I'm sure you have lost friends or have talked to friends who have just gone over the deep end over him, and when it boils down to it, is that he won, and because he won, the middle class won. And because the middle class won and was no party, not the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, was able to control them, something that has never happened before, the elites just don't know how to deal with it. They have
I think it's got a lot to do with that he disintermediated a lot of people who had power and don't have it anymore. But I'm amazed at a couple of things, Selena. I paid him one big compliment, which is you closed the border in a month. The Democrats told us for a year they needed a new law to do that. And he said he's not opposed to regularizing the people who are here, who are good people. And he always says that. If the Democrats would meet him halfway, they could get everyone in the country who isn't a violent criminal, a blue carders. They could get it done, but they'll never deal with him, right?
No, they'll never deal with them. And because of that, even if he goes up and down in the approval rating, they will never ever be able to overcome what he has materialized among the American people. And so they will continue to lose. Oftentimes parties say, we won and we're going to be in power for a generation. And that never happens. However, that's because they think they won for the wrong reasons. Trump understands why he won. And the people
Well, I asked him if he thought he could.
How he won.
I asked him if he thought he could finish off the realignment, because most realignments go askew. Obama blew his, Nixon blew his,
Yeah.
Reagan didn't blow his, but they blew it by not moving to the center quickly enough. You can't play to your base; you have to play to the center. And he said he thought he would deliver on that, and he thinks that the Republicans in the House will not screw up the tax bill. But people can't judge him. I don't care about the numbers right now, because nothing matters until March of next year, when people take an assessment of the economy. Agree or disagree?
Completely agree with you. I mean, everyone's trying to make a marker out of a moment, right? 100 days, and meaning his critics, right? 100 days, the economy's this, the numbers are that, he's going to fail. And it's a fool's errand, because they don't understand this realignment. And what's so important about this realignment is that the working class is solidly in it. And you don't win elections without the working class. And these are voters that were independent, that were Republican, that were Democrats, and low propensity voters that never showed up at all before. And they're part of this, and they're all in. More importantly, they're willing to wait, and they believe it is almost patriotic to wait to see if some of these things happen as he reshores industry back here, because they see it as patriotic and better for the future.
They are willing to wait. I'm glad you made that point. With Reagan, he didn't get it done in time, and he got wiped out in 1982. So the emphasis is on the need for speed. I don't think he's for slowing down. 30 seconds. Do you think the House passes this by July? I mean, not the Congress passes this by July 4?
Yes. I think you're going to see all kinds of drama, and cable news is going to lose its mind, and everybody's going to say all these crazy things, and then it'll get passed.
Oh gosh, from your lips, Selena. By the way, you think we get a pope in a week, a month, or 2 months, or longer?
Oh, I'm not going to try to guess my own religion. It's anybody's guess.
We didn't get it today. It was Black Smoke Day today. I'll just alert people. We're keeping an eye on the chimney. Selena Zito can be followed on X at Zito Selena. Go and pre-order Butler today. Markets are closed for the day, so I can give you the market report, brought to you by AmericanFederal.com. My friend Nick Grovich buys and sells gold. If you want to buy gold, it went down a little bit today, 1.36%. After 2 successive days of 3% rises, gold closed at $3,376 an ounce. Not the price you'll pay today. You got to call up Nick, talk to him about how much you want to buy, and his phone number is right there on the screen. If you're watching on the Salem News Channel, 1-800-221-7694, 1-800-221-7694, AmericanFederal.com. He charges a commission for whatever the spot price is. Lower commission, the more you buy. So if you're buying a quarter of an ounce of gold, the commission is higher. If you're buying an ounce, it's lower. If you're buying a pound, it's a lot lower. And if you're selling your gold, the same thing applies. But you got to talk to Nick and his team. They've been doing this for 42 years. That's who I do it with. That's who I did it with in January, but I do it annually. Some people buy gold quarterly. Some people buy gold monthly. Dollar cost averaging is the smartest way to go, because you can't outbeat the market. You're not that smart. There are machines involved. There's all sorts of professionals involved. You cannot beat the market, but you can trust Nick Grovich to deliver the gold that you buy. Now, the Dow went up 0.7% today. The S&P went up 0.43% today, and the Nasdaq went up a quarter point, actually 0.27%. I think this is because Pakistan and India do not appear to want to go a second round of exchanges, and that's a very good thing. And I think that might be why gold settled down a little bit. Yeah, but we still have some uncertainty. We don't have a pope. We do have tension along the line of control in Kashmir. But gold today, $3,376 an ounce. If you want gold, go to AmericanFederal.com. You can trust them. You can also trust AndrewandTodd.com. Now, the 10-year Treasury today is at 4.27. That's not the interest rate that you'll pay on a 30-year mortgage. Usually add about 2 points, maybe 2.5 points. The best deal you're going to get from andrewandtodd.com. 888-888-1172. Some of you have to move. You got your orders, you got your transfer. It's time to go home and take care of mom and dad. You just want a new start, whatever. And you're going to move. You're going to sell your house. You're going to buy a new house. You're going to get some proceeds. Maybe your house went up in value. Do the loan with Andrew Del Rey and Todd Avakian, because Sierra Pacific Mortgage is a lender. It's a bank. They are the ones that underwrite your loan. 888-888-1172. Whether you're a first-time home buyer and eligible for FHA, whether you're a veteran, you don't have to put any money down. If you're a senior citizen, you need to get money out of your house but never make another mortgage payment. So you have to pay your taxes, of course, your property assessments and homeowners fees, but no more mortgage payments. A reverse mortgage does not add a mortgage to your house. It's just cash out. Call them. 888-888-1172. Talked to Andrew this morning. It's a crazy market, but he's on top of it. And Todd is too. andrewandtodd.com. This next hour, I'm just going to replay the first hour because I get the president a couple of times a year, and I want to make sure you hear from him live right here on the Hugh Hewitt Show, but live to tape.